There are two notable Caribbean ports you might not be able to go to this summer, and wanted to give you a heads up as for your planning so you're aware of what to expect. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Royal Caribbean has been moving ships away from certain ports in the Caribbean, and for two vastly different reasons. And since this has been going on now for a little bit, I thought it'd be really important to share with all of you so that way if you have a cruise coming up this summer or this fall, you know what to expect. Let's begin with Labadee. Now, Royal Caribbean has stopped visiting Labadee as of April, and the reason why Royal Caribbean is not going to Labadee this year is the same reason it skipped it for a long part of 2024, and that is a lot of the civil strife issues related to the country of Haiti, where gang violence has escalated to a new level, and concern about visiting Royal Caribbean's private beach has necessitated a change in plans. Beginning in April, Royal Caribbean hit the pause button. Basically, there were cruises that were supposed to go like there next week, and they were like, hey, we're not going to go there. And they kind of played this game of like a week before changing itineraries. But what they've done differently now is they're canceling visits as far out as August. And considering this video is coming out here in May, we're talking about 3 months away, which is a significant change. Now, officially, if you go to Royal Caribbean's website and you look for travel updates, there's no policy update there. Royal Caribbean has not made a formal announcement. Last year, they were like, okay, we're not going to go from this date to this date. They're not doing that this year. But through different emails that cruisers have shared, we've pieced this together, and essentially, there's no cruises going to Labadee at least through early August. According to the email sent to guests, Royal Caribbean has said, quote, we've been monitoring the evolving situation in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and out of an abundance of caution, we're swapping our visit to Labadee for a sea day or a visit to a different place. Depends on the itinerary exactly. In this case, it depends on the exact sailing, what you get replaced with. Some ships have gone to different ports, like somewhere in the Dominican Republic or Falmouth, Jamaica, and another sailing has been replaced with a sea day. While nobody wants their itinerary to change, this is kind of one of those like big deal situations kind of out of Royal Caribbean's hand because Haiti is experiencing gang violence that's targeting the country's government. Ever since the 2021 assassination of Haiti's last president, there's been an alliance of gangs that have employed, quite frankly, brutal tactics to grow its power. And an estimated 85% of Haiti's capital is controlled by gangs. Now, the U.S. recently designated Haiti's major gangs as terrorist groups, and there's been all these violent clashes we don't need to go into here in this video. Just suffice to say, things in Haiti have gone from really bad to truly worse. If you have a cruise coming up that's supposed to visit Labadee, I would say anytime between now and quite frankly the end of the year, there's a chance you're not going to go there. I have a cruise coming up on Oasis of the Seas in October. It's actually one of our group cruises that we have planned. And I'm thinking there's probably a low chance of us actually going there. Now, Royal Caribbean plays this close to the vest. They don't really divulge what their plans are because ultimately I think they want to deliver on the itinerary that they promised you, but they're trying to be realistic as well. So they're kind of waiting a little bit, but clearly now they're making more changes in advance. Speaking of that, there's still no end in sight as to when Royal Caribbean's biggest ships can visit San Juan, Puerto Rico. Now, to be clear, if you're going on a smaller ship, that basically anything smaller than an Oasis class ship, you're probably going to still be able to go to San Juan. The issue is one of the piers that can handle Royal Caribbean's biggest ships has been out of commission since like last year now. So I think it's been more than a year, in fact, since an MSC cruise ship damaged the pier, and it's still not fixed yet. And yes, Royal Caribbean is still not visiting San Juan, Puerto Rico with its biggest ships. In fact, in situations where Oasis-class ships are scheduled to visit San Juan, they've been forced to cancel visits and reroute ships away because of that Pier 3 damage. In this situation, this is really on the port of San Juan to get it fixed, and it seems like there's a lot of finger pointing, because obviously there's the pier, right? The port of San Juan needs to fix it, but also because it's a U.S. port, the U.S. Coast Guard has to get approval on it, and there's inspections, and it seems like there's a lot of back and forth, and I'm quite frankly not sure if the issue is funding, availability, permissions, approvals, whatever. The reality is it still hasn't been fixed yet. And as of now, that's another port where if you have a cruise visiting San Juan, Puerto Rico, there might be a chance you might not be going there. Unlike Labadee, Royal Caribbean is still playing this game of kind of changing itineraries closer to the sail date. They're not canceling it months in advance, but once it becomes clear they won't be able to visit, then they change the itinerary. Now, this leads me to the controversy with both ports. Not so much the issues that we're facing. Obviously, Labadee is having major issues, and this pier in San Juan is having all sorts of red tape. But what people really get upset about is the fact there are changes in the first place, and whether or not Royal Caribbean should be making these changes, and how far in advance they should be occurring. Basically, there are a lot of people that are upset because Royal Caribbean is making these changes and not giving them nearly advance notice on it, or as much notice as they would like to have. I don't know how much that really is supposed to be. But for a lot of folks, this notice comes after a final payment date, which essentially means they're stuck with the cruise and the itinerary they picked. And a lot of people wish they could have made the change before final payment date to a different cruise. Now, in my opinion, Royal Caribbean is in a impossible situation. They're, first of all, at the mercy of conditions and forces they have no control over. This is not like Royal Caribbean's Perfect Day at Coco Key, where they control the pier, it's their island, they have full reign over everything. In the case of San Juan, it's not their port, it's a shared port, so they go there when they can and when permission's available. And in the case of Labadee, while that is their own private destination, the geopolitical issues supersede like what the cruise ships want to do and what the cruise line wants to do, and there are serious security implications to that. I certainly understand why people would be upset or frustrated and disappointed by the whole thing. Heck, I'd be disappointed if I wasn't going to the places I was supposed to go to. But just like hurricanes, unfortunately, these things can occur. Now, I can sit here and lecture all of you about the fact that the cruise contract that you sign when you book the cruise allows Royal Caribbean to pretty much change the itinerary to do anything they want, and you're not guaranteed to go anywhere. But that's not really going to make you feel any better. What I'm trying to do here is, number one, alert you to the possibility, and number two, set the proper expectations. These things can happen. In fact, more often, you're likely to have your itinerary changed because of bad weather than because of geopolitical issues or MSC Cruises doing MSC Cruises things. What I mean by that is, like during hurricane season, it's very common for an itinerary to be changed. When we went on Icon of the Seas for our group cruise last year, we were supposed to go to the Eastern Caribbean. And literally the day before the cruise, I was on the train going from Orlando to Miami, and bam, we got the email that Royal Caribbean was changing its plans. We went from Eastern Caribbean to Western Caribbean, and this is not, I won't say par for the course for during hurricane season, but certainly something that you expect to happen. As it relates to what's happening in Labadee and San Juan, it's a little bit different because these are situations that are evolving, and that's really the key word there, evolving. So with any itinerary that you're planning, any cruise that you take, whether you're going to Europe, whether you're going to the Caribbean, Alaska, these things can happen. There was a rock slide in Skagway, Alaska a couple of years ago, and it basically canceled a bunch of visits to Skagway, which is one of the major ports in Alaska. That was a situation that was like, will they fix it? How quickly will they fix it? And things of that nature, and it definitely wreaked havoc with some of the plans up there. So I know what you're all thinking. All right, Matt, look in your crystal ball. When are these places, Labadee and San Juan, going to reopen? And it would be foolish of me to offer any kind of a prediction because I really have no earthly idea. Both situations are very fluid and both situations have very different requirements. Clearly, what the issues that Labadee had last year were not really that different than they are this year. Essentially, I think things just cooled down, or at least Royal Caribbean felt there was not a direct threat to Labadee because Labadee is in a remote area far away from where the gang violence was. So they felt like, well, there isn't a direct threat, thus we can resume visits there. Whereas now, because the gang violence has escalated to such a point that they feel maybe that's not the case anymore. But again, that could all change like tomorrow. But that is the reality of the Haiti situation, and that is definitely a wait and see. At the very least, the best barometer out there is going to be new cancellations, and we certainly report on them at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. The San Juan Pier is truly mind-boggling. I mean, I would have thought this would have been fixed a long time ago, because this is a major port in the Caribbean, and not only does it impact Royal Caribbean, but other cruise lines. I'm just surprised it's gone on this long. We've seen local media reports that things were going to get fixed, but those dates came and went. So I really don't know. I mean, I'm looking at it almost through the lens of my own cruise coming up in October, because I've got visits to both Labadee and San Juan on the same cruise. Will we go there? And I really have no idea. I've kind of essentially prepared myself mentally for the fact that we'll probably end up with a sea day and a visit to Nassau, Bahamas, or Falmouth, Jamaica as a replacement. But, at the end of the day, a cruise is what you make of it. And I really do believe having the right expectations makes it better. It's not going to make you feel better about it necessarily. You're not going to be happy like, yay, my cruise has changed itineraries. But I think as a traveler, there's a certain level of flexibility that's necessary when you're talking about this kind of vacation. Let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts and what's your predictions? Maybe you'll be like a great prognosticator if you end up being correct about when Royal Caribbean will resume visits to either San Juan, Puerto Rico, or Labadee. While you're down in our comments, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way you two of us, we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.